main card here. We got Eric Anders versus Kyle Daucus. I think Eric Anders, I think this might be his last chance here. Over his 14 fight UFC career, he's gone 7-6-1 and winless at middleweight since 2019. He has never really looked too impressive, to be honest. He's a former college and pro football player, so he has like a lot of athletic ability, but he's not very fundamentally sound. He throws a lot of big looping punches. Not a hard hitter either. He's got a -1 striking differential, but he does pepper in a takedown when he needs to. Overall, I would say his best attribute is probably his toughness and durability. The guy can like take a punch and roll with it. That's for sure. He's only been finished twice: a sub by Andre Muniz and a KO by Thiago Santos. That was right in his prime. He's taking on Kyle Daucus, who, like Eric Anders, is 2-2-1 in his last five, and coming off a brutal knee to Roman Dolidze in his last time out, broke multiple bones in his face, needed surgery, was out for a couple months. But I think he's a lot better than his record suggests. If you look at it, his three losses, he fought a very close fight to Brendan Allen in his debut. Got beat up by Phil Hawes. I'll give him that one. He got beat up. He did not look good in that fight. But then I thought he was winning against Kevin Holland before the clash of heads, and he got like KO'd. And then got beat up again by Dolitza. But Daucus is a very good grappler. He averages 2.4 takedowns per fight at 86% takedown defense. And once he gets a hold of his opponent, it's hard to separate from him. Just really smothering grappling. His striking is, it's decent. I wouldn't say anything special. Not really any power in his punches. But his style is awkward. It's kind of hard to figure out. So he's got that going for him. This fight is harder than the odds suggest, I think. If you want to bet something smart here, I would bet a decision or the over. Anders has gone to decision in 4 out of his last 6, and Daucus has gone to decision in 4 out of his last 7. So I kind of see it being a decision here. But I think overall, Daucus is just the better guy. He's a -200 now. That's kind of hard to believe. I think it is a lot closer than that. And I'm a fan of Kyle Daucus too. So, yeah, I just assumed it'd be closer. So I don't know if I really like Kyle Daucus for -200, but I'm going to go with him in that one. And we're going to move right into the next one, which is Derek Brunson versus Jack Hermansson. Now, I think this one is, I would say the last one's probably the toughest, but this one, it's not a walk in the park either to predict. Derek Brunson is coming off of a historical 5-0 run where he was betting underdog in all 5 fights. He did finally lose in his last time out against Jared Cannonier. Although Brunson did look great, he got a knockdown in the first, and then lost by a TKO in the second round. But his performance is really good. It kind of stood out to me because I think Kennedy has really tough competition. Not to mention his wrestling has looked the best it's looked in his entire career, really. In his last 10 fights leading up to this 5-fight winning streak, he recorded a total of 2 takedowns, and that was just in one fight. So 9 fights that were he didn't have one takedown, and then in his last 6, he's recorded 22. So which is just pretty crazy numbers. He's taken on Jack Hermansson, who has looked a little. His fight style has looked a little different recently. Hermansson went 6-2 to start the UFC with 5 of those wins by finish. He's won 1, lost 1 since, going 4-3, going to decision in 5 of those, and has gone from a frequent finisher to like more of a point fighter. His striking really looked improved. Went back and forth with Sean Strickland, but I was really surprised how close that was for the first 3 rounds at least, and then he kind of slowed down after that. But then he beat up Chris Curtis on the feet too. I know Chris Curtis is a little undersized and everything, but still, it was pretty good to see. Hermansson's takedown defense hasn't really been tested lately, though. No one's attempted a takedown on him in 3 fights, and only 2 have attempted takedowns on him in his last 6 fights. But Brunson, I think, that wrestling is just the difference maker here. I know Hermansson has a great sub game, so Brunson's going to have to watch out, but he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Derek Brunson in that one. Love him as an underdog, as always. And we're going to move right into the next one, Tai Tuivasa versus Sergey Pavlovich. Sergey Pavlovich, he's a scary individual. He's 6'3", 84-inch reach, and a crazy amount of human growth hormone. He's gone 4-1 to start the UFC after losing his UFC debut to former heavyweight champ and UFC veteran Alistair Overeem. He's gone on a 4-fight winning streak, all by first-round KO, resulting in 2 Performance of the Night awards. And although we've seen him, we've only seen his striking really so far in the UFC, which is very technical. He's got straight punches while also being explosive and powerful. He actually has a background in Greco-Roman wrestling before finding combat sambo. after joining the army. So he does have a background in grappling, but we just haven't seen it. But when he got taken down in his UFC debut against Overeem, he did look like a fish out of water when he was on his back. I will say that. I am worried about his gas tank, though. Again, to reference that Overeem fight, Overeem grappled a little bit, and it looked like it took a lot out of Pavlovich. Also, Pavlovich hasn't seen past the first round since 2017, so I went back and I watched that fight where he went to the last fight. He went to decision or got out of the first round even. Just to take like a glimpse at his gas tank. And I will say the fight did go 5 rounds. Neither guy looked to push the pace really. It looked more like a sparring bout, and he ended up winning the fight. But no one really put themselves out there or pushed the pace a lot, so it's hard to really tell what his cardio was like. He's taken on Tai Tuivasa, who also has some insane punching power, but he's more of a brawler, throws all technique out the window, just swings for the fences. And I think making this fight ugly and not technical fight, which Pavlovich likes, he likes a technical fight. I think the uglier it gets, the more shot Tuivasa has. Tuivasa has an unpredictable way of fighting, and it's resulted in a 5-1 run, with all fights ending by KO, resulting in 4 of them Fight of the Night or Performance of the Night awards. And although he lost his last time match to Cyril Gane, he was actually able to land a knockdown in that fight, something Ngannou couldn't even do, but still ended up getting the number of his significant strikes almost quadrupled in that fight. I think this fight's going to be fireworks for however long it lasts, but having a 9-inch reach advantage with that power, not to mention the technical striking of Pavlovich, it's hard not to go with him. So I'm going to go with Sergey Pavlovich in this one. All right, so we're going to move right into the next one, which is Matheus Nicolai versus Matt Schnell. People keep doubting Matt Schnell. I was actually one of them, but the guy's done pretty good recently. Of course, he's coming off one of the biggest comebacks of 2022. After getting knocked down by Sumaderji, he recovered and landed a sub in the second. And before that, he had a knockdown against Brandon Royval, another really good guy, up and coming. And that time, Schnell was actually caught by a sub, so the roles were reversed there. And both of those fights were Fight of the Night awards. So he's a very entertaining guy. He's taken on Matheus Nicolai, who has shown to have made great strides after getting cut from the UFC back in 2018. He's gone 3-0 since returning. And he was thrown right back to the wolves. On his 3-fight winning streak, he beat Manel Kape by a split decision. It was a flip of a coin fight. Then he fought the human tornado, Tim Elliott, another very close fight. And finally beat David Dvorak in an underwhelming and another very, very close fight that could have gone either way, in my opinion. Betting on him has really been more of a headache than anything else, if I'm being honest. He's the far more well-rounded fighter in this fight. He's the harder hitter. He's got a higher striking differential and much better at takedowns than Schnell. But then, like I said, you can't really count Schnell out. He's always got that game in him. Matheus Nicolai averages 1.5 takedowns per fight at 42% accuracy, just to reference that. And actually holds a higher belt in BJJ than Matt Schnell, which is the best part of Matt Schnell's game. But Matt Schnell will always be a high-level submission threat. And he has a very technical karate style. He utilizes a ton of kicks, which could muddy the waters if this fight does go to the judges. But overall, I think I'm going to have to go with Matheus Nicolai in this one, which is going to bring us into the co-main event, RDA, Rafael dos Anjos versus Brian Barberena. RDA has looked really good since returning from his 2-year hiatus after a 1-4 skid, the worst of his career. He's 1-1 so far, but had a very competitive back-and-forth fight with Rafael Fizayev in a really one-sided and a really one-sided victory over Renato Moicano. That being said, he's looked refreshed, and I think the time away has really helped him tremendously. This fight is a little different than what he's used to because he won't be going to the championship rounds, which he has in 8 out of his last 10. And the last time he did fight a 3-on fight, he lost to Michael Chiesa, and that was actually at welterweight. And this is going to be the first time he's going to be fighting at welterweight in 3 fights. And although he's 38 years old, he's still the same old well-rounded guy, but is, I think, rather one-sided for 170. But I think the weight cut was really getting to him, so I get it. But he's taking on Brian Barberena, who's 4-1 in his last 5 on a 3-fight winning streak over pretty big names, Matt Brown and Robbie Lawler being 2 of them. And not to shit on the guy too much, but those 2 guys were way past their prime. Barberena is the definition of someone having their ups and downs in the UFC, going 5-5 to start his career, His fight style is very fun, high volume, technical striker who averages 6 strikes per minute and +1 striking differential. But he's very one sided. He lacks the grappling, resulting in a 55% career takedown defense. The odds are already around a -400 now, and I think most people are seeing how this fight's going to go. So I'm following the crowd, and I'm going to go with RDA in that one, which is going to lead us right into the main event. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Kevin Holland. It's been a year since we've seen Wonderboy. He faced Bilal Muhammad and lost one-sidedly. He's actually on a 2-fight losing streak and literally hasn't won a round in both fights. Really one-sided losses. Granted, it was to very good grapplers, Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns, so might want to take it with a grain of salt. But still, hasn't had a win in 2 years, and he's 39 years old now. He's going to be 40 in another 2 months. Kevin Holland has already come out and said he doesn't plan on grappling anyway. Not that he really could, but just setting the record straight. So get ready for a banger in this one. Kevin Holland making his comeback after his 2-week-long retirement after just getting mauled by Khamzat Chimaev. But take that with a grain of salt, because Chimaev fucked everyone over that week because he was scared of Nate Diaz. So he just made everyone have a bad time that week. Like Wonderboy, has had some losses recently to some very good grapplers, Marvin Vettori, Derek Brunson, not to mention Chimaev. Also, both fighters are very elusive strikers, great footwork, diverse strikes, but overall, technically, Thompson has the advantage. Holland is younger by 10 years. He's the far longer, lankier striker. A 10-year age gap usually results in the younger fighter winning 68% of the time. And he also has a 3-inch height and 6-inch reach advantage, and by far has the heavier hands here. With Stephen Thompson not getting a finish in nearly 7 years and 10 fights ago, yeah, he's more of a point fighter as he gets into his old age. I don't think Wonderboy is necessarily over the hill. I think he's still a very high-level striker, still a tough matchup for most, but I think Holland is just in a very different part of his career. He's finally fighting at his natural weight class, 170. He's in his prime. But still, Wonderboy striking is elite. And you have to get creative if you want to beat a guy like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson at his own game on his feet. Kind of like what Anthony Pettis did. Superman punch off the fence. Or, you're going to have to get creative with it to win. Holland to open as a slight underdog has already rose to about a -120. So I only see it going up from here. So I guess you see where I'm going with this. I'm going to go with Kevin Holland. And yeah, that's it for the main card. And I'll have the prelims up as soon as possible.